Hey everybody, welcome to Intro to Real-Time Modeling. Today's first lesson is going to be a basic overview of how to obtain Autodesk Maya. Also, it will be the basic features that you'll need to understand before we get really in-depth with this program. So here on my screen I have the Autodesk website, and you can see if you go to autodesk.com/education/student-software, you'll be able to find an actual download link for a 36-month trial of Autodesk licenses for students. Now this is a great deal. It basically means you do not have to pay for Maya for 36 months. An absolute gem of something to have here, especially being that we as students would have to pay normally a lot of money for this. So I'd like you guys all to go here and follow the directions on this screen and obtain your copy of the Autodesk software. Now, no matter what year you get, currently I'm using Maya 2014. It is really up to you which one you have, but most of the times the licenses tend to be the same. So there's subtle changes in interface color and things like that, but we can kind of work our way around and really find where we need to go. So if you go to, again, the free software tab, you can see that all the options that you have actually for Autodesk. So you can download more than just Maya, but we will be using Autodesk Maya in this class this semester. Alright guys, so we are going to move on, and the other thing you need to obtain is a 3-button mouse, or a button if I can spell. Now when I say a 3-button mouse, what I mean is one like the images you see here. Okay, these aren't so good. What I tend to do is I tend to focus more on the cheaper mouses that you can find. You can get a lot of these wirelessly these days, but you know, having buttons that are very distinct, a left button, a right mouse button, and then the scroll wheel will count as your third button, will make your life a lot easier in this kind of world. Now, if you go for the Magic Mouse, that's this one, it tends to be a little harder to use with Maya. You're welcome to do it, but it's not the best thing to use. The other thing is the Gamer Mouse, which tends to have like 50,000 buttons. I don't suggest the scroll wheel or the Gamer Mouse in Maya. Just a simple 3-button mouse is really the great way to go. Let's kind of go and look at some of the, these are 5-button mouses here. One like this. Pretty nice mouse. 3 buttons, left, right, scroll wheel, center. So make sure you get yourself one of these. You can find these cheap anywhere under $10 at Walmart for your simple corded mouse like this, upwards to $20 or more for your other mouse. So keep that in mind. Now when you do a download a mouse or get a mouse, you want to download the driver for it. So I'm gonna write here Logitech, there we go. Totally spelled that wrong as usual. You guys will get to know that. Now these Logitech mice, some of the wireless mice, such as this is one very similar, these right here, to the ones I have, especially this one, will actually have a left and right. You can see these arrows on your mouse. So if your scroll wheel has this tilt, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find your mouse settings in your computer. Now I'm using a Mac, and I need to basically go to my system preferences and open the mouse settings and go back here. And if I just clicked on the normal mouse, I don't get much speed besides the speed of the mouse track and the scrolling. What I want to do is, after I downloaded the driver or the software that comes with the mouse, I should get a control center. And one of the big things that I've done with this is by clicking on my mouse. You can see here I have a wireless mouse M305 from Logitech, great mouse. I hit configure and I can set all these buttons. The things I've turned to nothing here are the tilt left and the tilt right. The wheel button is set to click, so it will act as a middle click when I push in the scroll wheel. That's not pulling the scroll wheel up and down or rotating the scroll wheel. That is a push in middle click, and that's going to be very important. The rest of them, the wheel is going to be vertical scroll. That will help with zoom a little bit. And then the right button will be right click. Obviously the left button will be left click. So after you do all of that, you're really ready to get started. So you would download Maya, and Maya is very dependent on RAM and processor. as well as a graphics card. So if you do not have a graphics card inside of your computer, you'll notice some differences in the Maya software on your machine. Let's go ahead and open up Maya. I'm going to search. Maya comes from a long line of programs that Autodesk has created. Before Maya, it was owned by a company called Alias. Before it was called Maya, it was called Alias Wavefront. And basically, Autodesk also owns companies such as 3D Studio Max and AutoCAD, which are also big names in this business. So when you open up Maya for the first time, you may get some issues here. You can see here I have a warning immediately. It's not a big deal. Maya is famous for its false warnings. They're just there to alert you to something specific. Here, this one just means there's some sort of a renderer not available that I need to turn on. So I haven't turned on a plugin at the time. But if I click in the main view, it goes away. So now that I'm in here, I'm going to shut down most of my other windows. I like to have Maya being the only thing in the background. And let's talk a little bit about the interface. When you open Maya, you have multiple interface options, and this is the default here. The main thing you're going to first see is your grid. And your grid are unit-based measurements. Now, we will learn later on in the semester how to set these squares to be 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter or 1 inch by 1 inch. There's a lot of different things we can do here. Up here you have your viewport. This will move to orthographic views. I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm going to show you other ways to do it. I tend to think this messes up my mouse movement, so I tend to always hit the home button and just kind of leave it be. You can turn this off here by playing with your properties of that as well, and that will open up your properties editor. That's a quick jump to that, where you can show the view cube or turn the view cube off. So that's something kind of interesting. Now, that's probably the most important thing. One of the other important things here is at the bottom of the viewport, and this is the directional axis. And depending on how we're working or what program you're going to use after Maya, you may want to adjust your axes. Now, right now, Y is the up axis, Z is the back and forth space axis, and X is the left and right. And this is our little cheat sheet. If you're planning on going into game design, Z sometimes tends to be the up and down axis, and Y tends to be the back and forth. So you have a lot of different options to kind of play around with. To the left of your screen, you have your toolbar. These are selection tools and moving tools and rotation tools, much like you would find maybe in a Photoshop or a After Effects program. Below that, you have all your viewport and panel layout options. Here, I'll teach you some shortcuts to kind of speed this process along, but you have multiple different window setups, whether it is one, whether it is a 4-view, a 2-view, and so forth. All of these are highly customizable. Underneath that, you can also see a quick jump list with this arrow to basically change and open up any panels that you might frequently use. Below this, you'll find the animation menu tools. These aren't really necessary for the semester this year because we're not going to focus in this semester on animation at all. So what I tend to do is sometimes I will hide those, and I will show you how to do that in a little bit. Here we have Mel scripting. Mel scripting is the code, or if you've used Flash before, it's kind of the action script of what we have here in Maya. Another script they use is the Python scripting language. This window right here is essentially a cheat sheet. It's the warning symbol, the warning message symbol. Basically, everything that's created in Maya comes in as code, or this Mel script. You can see the code it's writing when I created a new file, much like you would in DOS or a program like that. Here is our cheat sheet or a tool help menu bar. I love this bar. It is a time saver indeed. And you'll notice as you hover over things, Maya will give you selected tooltips. And oftentimes, if you're quick enough, you can watch a video on that specific tool. You can also see the little shortcuts. For instance, let me hover on move here. W being the shortcut for our move tool. All right, on the right-hand side, we have our further information boxes. There are channel box. Sometimes you will see something called the attribute editor, if I keep changing it. Basically what this does is any tool we use will have further functions, or a shader will have further information that's displayed in these two boxes. The attribute editor tends to be the more detailed editor, while the channel box tends to be the more cut and dry, straightforward, fast find kind of editor feel. So you'll see here at the top left, you can show it and hide things. You can open up this multi-component modeling kit. That's a really cool thing. This has a lot of functions that we're going to play around with later, but these are common tools basically. Now, in the attribute editor, we hit that will open up, and we have the channel box as well, which is on the far right. You can see there. This one with the little wrench is called the tool settings. So if I zoom in here, you'll see it's like a little wrench toolbar. This is good too. When in doubt, I like to reset my tools, hit that button, close it out, and it allows me to kind of move forward. Now, in our viewport, I didn't really cover any of this, but we have multiple different displays for our shading and for the way that the camera right now, this is a stationary camera, can be seen. Above that, we have general tabs that are commonly used tools. So Maya just puts them up. Now, all these tools you find down here will also be found eventually up here. Now, one of the main ones we're going to focus on from the get-go is the Polygon submenu. So every time I change this menu at the top, you can see that all the menu items will change at the very top of your screen. So keep that in mind. We're going to focus on the word polygons. Here we have our standard save file. We have little area openings, and we can close things. We have selection types, which we'll talk about. We have snap to grids, and then we have the way we would render, and then there's also a way we can search for things. All of these in which that you can close and minimize and maximize. So you kind of just got the basic tour of what we need. Now, what you're going to use is you're going to try to maximize your space altogether. So what I want to see you guys do right now is follow along with me, is we're going to set up our user interface, or our UI. Now, to do that, we're going to have to go to display. And one of the things I'm going to teach you over the semester's course is that when it comes to displaying elements or working in Maya or doing anything in Maya, you have to start thinking like the program. So if I want to display something and I look all around, some of the places I would go to is 1, display, 2 would be my view, which something in here could be looking for, or perhaps show. So those are 3 places I would look immediately to help me figure out if I needed any questions answered on displaying elements. So I'm going to start here by going to display and UI elements, and I'm going to turn off some things. One of the things I'm going to turn off is our range slider, which has to do with animation. I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to turn off my time slider. Now, the rest of that's pretty good. We don't necessarily need the command line because we're not going to really type in there. We just really need the help line. But this gives us a lot more visible space to play with. Now, down the road when you use Maya, absolutely you may use some of these settings. I can hide, I can show them all. That helps a lot too. You can see now what I can start playing with is changing my window size. So when I select my window, if I hit the space bar, you'll notice now I get my orthographic views. I have a top view, which is very hard to see because of this grid, but you can see it says the word top there. I have a front view, and I have a side view. And to cycle through those, I simply click, hit spacebar, and I hit spacebar to get out of them. And these are very helpful when it comes to proportionally modeling a scene. So now that we're back in our perspective view, and our perspective view allows us to move around quite freely, we can go ahead and begin to learn how to move around in this viewport. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to keep this very simple. We're going to go to the Polygons menu, and we're going to click on the cube. Now, if I don't want to click on that cube, I can do Create Polygon Primitive Cube. These are 2 ways to create a cube in Maya. So I'm going to click here on the Fix window, and you'll see it gives me this little icon. Now it's telling me to drag this on the grid. So if I go ahead and drag this, I can kind of make a square or cube and pull it up. It tells me to drag it to set the height. So that's really nice as well. Alright, and we're going to learn more about modeling coming up. Now that I have that in here, I have this cube. It's not shaded. So up in my toolbar here, it's set to wireframe. You can see this little box. Now when I turn that off, it immediately goes to the next box and it says smooth shade. The hotkeys for this are the keys 4, hit the wrong key there, 4, and 5. 4, and 5. And you can see it's cycling through those two keys. It's really nice of it to do that for us. All right, now we want to rotate around here. And for view sake purposes, I'm going to go ahead and hit this button right here, wireframe on shaded. This way you can kind of see the edges of the shade. Now, when we're ready to rotate around here, you have a couple of options. You're going to look at the control key or the command key on your Mac, and you're going to hold that down, and I want you to hold down also the left mouse button. When you do that, you get a rotation, and that allows us to rotate, and I'm holding the command key and the left mouse button down. Now if I hold the right mouse button down, I get a zoom key. So now I'm holding the left mouse button down and now the right mouse button. Now here's where that scroll wheel plays a huge part in this. If I keep the command key down and I push my wheel of my mouse inward and it's clicking, I'm pushing it down, I can do a pan. And then it becomes almost a dance where I can kind of rotate around my object. And this really opens up this 3D space. It allows me to position things, it allows me to kind of focus on rendering and whatnot, all with a quick kind of swoop of the hand, swoop of the mouse. Now, again, you can use the Alt key as well, or Option key. It does the same thing. I use the Command key. It doesn't really matter. If you want to do some more tricks on this, there's a lot of other hotkey combinations, but the Command key tends to be the easiest out of them all. At any point, if you hit the Home key on your view cube, it will take you back out. Now, what we have going on here, I'm going to hit W on my keyboard, which will activate my Move tool, is I can move these in their selective axes. Now, this point right here in the middle is considered our 0 origin. And what's happening here when I move this cube, this is our origin point of the cube. If I go to the channel box here, that's our modeling tool table here. We'll talk about that later. You can see that I have these specific settings. Now, if I go and I say translate, which means move, and I type a 0 and X, it's going to move it, let me set it up, to the left. So if I move it this way, it's a negative value. And if I move it this way, it's a positive value. Now, we want to set these to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the old slow way. We're going to learn faster ways. I'm going to move it in Y, so that means now the origin, you can see that little box is pretty close to the origin of the flatness of the grid. And then finally Z should put it right on this space right where my mouse cursor is. So if I do 0 there, absolutely. So now this is set to origin. There's not much reasoning behind this, just to show you though how the grid system works. My rotation values are meant as degrees. Therefore, if I rotate this 45 degrees in X, it will give me that rotation. At any point, if I screw up, I can just type 0 in my channel box. Remember, your channel box is found here at the top, or also with the attribute set editors on the sides. So very fun stuff here. And I will center this back up. Scale is normally set to 1. If I want this to be half the size, I'll do 0.5. If I want it to be double the size, you can notice I just kind of scroll with my mouse, type it in one category, and it does them on both. There we go. We can have it on 2. Now, you've noticed a couple times that I've gotten this look to it. This is by my accidentally hitting 3 instead of the W. So just simply hit the 1 key, and it will go back to what's called linear hard edge mode. And we'll talk about those keys in a bit down the road. And that's basically, essentially, your first, hopefully, jump into Maya. It's a nice kind of program once you get used to it, but it is also very easy to be overwhelmed by all of these tools. That's where we're going to end Lesson 1 today. I want you guys to go and attempt to make different primitives. Try creating different polygon primitives, such as a cone, a cylinder, a sphere. Those tend to be the most common. And even really go out here and maybe try like a helix. A helix is kind of fun. So I'm going to do that there for you. And explore your interface. Explore what you have, what options it brings you. You know, look around. Once I created this helix, I have in the channel box inputs. And I have a lot of different options. For instance, coils and things like that. Explore the rotation keys and the scale key. This is W. This is the rotation key is E, and then the scale tool is R. I know it gets a little confusing. Why wouldn't R be rotate? But it is what it is. So we can rotate. You can see the values change. We can also do things such as type 90 degrees in there. And we can use our scale, which is that R key. And playing around with these tools, I can scale things in and out. I can universally scale them up and down. I could scale them just in one setting so they don't match and go from there. At any point, if you mess up, you can hit Edit, which will show you your undo, which is Command Z, or your redo, which is Command Y. Command Z is going to be your best friend throughout because it will just continue to go backwards. That's our first lesson in Maya, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We will learn more about the nooks and crannies of Maya as we go along, and I will talk to you guys next time.